Are you struggling with your fourth finger? If so, then you're going to want to keep watching. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher currently based in New Jersey. I've been playing the violin for over 20 years. I have both my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I'm a Suzuki-trained teacher. If you're enjoying my tutorials, please subscribe and check out my online violin academy, which not only includes hundreds of tutorials just like this one, but also most of my digital courses and live classes with me. The link is always in the description. In this video, I'll be discussing some tips and exercises for strengthening your fourth finger on your left hand. So first of all, why is it so dang hard to use that fourth finger? Well, there are two reasons. The first, and probably the most obvious, is that the pinky finger is our smallest finger, thereby our weakest finger. The second reason is your pinky and your ring finger actually share a tendon in your hand, which makes it harder for the pinky to move independently. Don't believe me? Give this a try. Place your left hand up and try to just bend your pinky. You can see that my third finger, my ring finger, is moving with it. That's because they share a tendon in your hand, which again makes it harder for the pinky to move by itself. Right from the very beginning, it's very important to think about the shape of your pinky. When you place your pinky down, you want to do so on the tip, and you want to make sure that it is nice and curved, just like this. The shape of it doesn't matter all too much in the beginning, but it really makes a huge difference when you're trying to do vibrato. Because vibrato is essentially rolling back and forth on the pad, if your pinky is already down like this, it's very, very hard to roll back and thus very hard to do the vibrato. So even from the very beginning, we got to have that end goal in mind. So like I said, you want to place your pinky right on the tip, and you want it to be really nice and curved with the knuckle up. Now, this is not going to happen automatically or overnight. I remember when I was a kid, my pinky definitely looked like this. So it does take a lot of thought and a lot of working on pinky strength to get this ideal shape. If you're struggling with the pinky shape, here's a couple different things you can try. The first thing is to alter the position of your thumb. So generally, I suggest for students to start with their thumb slightly behind the first finger. However, that's not always the best placement for everyone, especially those who have smaller hands. So if you have smaller hand, move your thumb up so that it's more directly across from your second finger. And that will help give you a better balance to your hand and help make it easier to reach for that fourth finger. The other thing that you can do is alter the position of your elbow. So again, if you're having trouble getting your pinky into that shape, move your elbow in towards your body. And do this as well as when you go down the strings. So as I go from E to A to D to G, you can see that my elbow comes in significantly. Finally, be very mindful of your hand frame when you are going for your pinky. You do not want your wrist to stick out like this or cave in like this. I know that students do this because they think it's going to make it easier to reach the pinky, but in fact, it will not. You want to keep your wrist straight, and again, change the position of your thumb or swing your elbow, but do not move your wrist. The very first exercise that I would practice is plucking. So basically, you're going to place your pinky down in that beautiful curved shape, and then pluck your string to the side. You can, of course, do this on all 4 strings. And this helps a couple different things. It helps your pinky move independently, and it helps build up the strength. The next exercise to practice is tapping. So I'm going to place my 1, 2, and 3 down on the A string, and I'm going to practice tapping my fourth finger where it needs to be. You can see that my fourth finger is going down on the tip, and that it is staying nice and curved. I'm also thinking about this motion coming from right here, the bass knuckle. The next exercise to practice is going up and down on each string. So I'll use A string as an example. I'll start with open A. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you see what I did when I went for my fourth finger? If not, rewind. I bring my elbow in And I actually moved my thumb up a little bit. I know you couldn't see that, but I went a little bit like that, again, just to help with the balance of my hand. And then I'll go back down. And like I said, this should be done on every string because it is going to feel a little bit different on every string. E string feels way different than G string. And you can see my elbow placement is much different as well. The next exercise would be to practice adding fourth fingers into your scales. So it's a very common practice in violin playing to use open strings when you go up the scale and fourth fingers when you go down the scale. You can of course use fourth fingers going up the scale, and sometimes you have to do that if you're starting the scale in a higher position rather than first position, but at the very least you need to be using your fourth fingers going down the scale. So take whatever scale you're playing and utilize that fourth finger. So say I was playing an A scale. Right here, I would use my 4 instead of the open E string. And finally, probably the greatest fourth finger exercise is Shadiak number 1. This exercise is great for practicing a number of different things, but it's definitely very, very beneficial for the fourth finger. It helps you focus on the fourth finger shape, the fourth finger strength, the fourth finger independence. It might be a little bit tedious, I know it was when I was learning it, but it's so, so worth it. I'll leave the sheet music in the description so you can download it and practice for yourself. Last thing I'll say about the fourth finger is do not avoid it. The only way you're going to get better and more comfortable with using your fourth finger is to practice it and use it. So typically we use the fourth finger to avoid string crossings. If I was playing a passage that had mostly C sharp, D, and E, it would make a lot more sense for me to use my fourth finger instead of going over to open E. A lot of times in music, the fourth finger will also be marked as well. I know that happens a lot of times in the Suzuki books and students sometimes ignore it. So don't ignore it and make sure that you practice it so that it ultimately becomes easier. So those are my best tips and exercises for your fourth finger. If you have any fourth finger exercises that you really love, please leave them in the comments. Subscribe before you go, and thank you for watching.